jam. I don't
Face
remember.
jam.
But it's like their head stays right there, and you do this. And they're doing things in their heads.
So it's the opposite of a bobblehead, but you put it on an electronic card during a season.
Right. Yeah.
Huh. Right. Nice. Still strange, but nice.
Okay.
Has this thing started? No. Ugh. See, I didn't turn on the timer. Sorry, everyone. Let's dial this down to 4 minutes ish.
Anyway.
So you're
Anywho's.
You're rewatching Star Wars early episodes to get
Early
the
episodes.
context. I'm lamenting over the loss of a decent character in Obi-Wan.
Oh, stop.
Obi-Wan.
No,
What?
stop.
You
Stop,
don't
stop,
want to
stop.
make it this political?
Stop. And I have not seen any of the Obi-Wan.
Oh, okay.
So
I won't say
Don't be
any more then.
talking about... What in the world?
He
That was
actually
terrible.
doesn't have a lightsaber in that episode. It's more like a pocket knife. It's a
Okay, stop.
And it comes out about this high. And he's like,
Stop.
"Come on, Vader, take me on. Take me on."
Stop. No, I was watching episode 1, and sorry for those non-Star Wars fans out there. I was watching episode 1, and there's... spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Yes.
When young Anakin, he's like this tall, not really, but he's really young. He's a pod racer, although, anyway, there's some really bad moments in the episode 1 movie. But there's a point where they're talking to him, and you hear the Darth Vader theme, like just start, and it's very soft and subtle, and it's like, I just realized it. I just heard it this last time I was watching it, and it reminded me that I had seen these kind of clips of music removed from movies and from TV shows that basically shows how much music plays into the whole experience when you're watching TV shows and movies. It has a dramatic, no pun intended, a dramatic effect on the watchability and the experience you have.
Absolutely. Very strange to see a scene when there is no audio. I don't find it as dramatic or effective when they show those videos and it's like green screens or digital, whatever's around, and there's no noise. It's more when there's just no music and someone is acting through a really well-known scene, and you got to wonder, like, how does an actor tap into the drama without the music? Clearly they've got to really study their characters. But back to Anakin, because that was such a spoiler, I didn't realize. I actually thought it was Jar Jar Binks that was Darth Vader, because I mean, he's kind of got ears that are about the same shape as Darth Vader's helmet. That would be funny.
Jar Jar Binks is probably the most, what I feel like, the most hated character in Star Wars, beyond the Emperor, like beyond anybody. Like, for some reason, I don't understand. Yes, he's goofy. Yes, Jar Jar Binks is odd, but we shouldn't hate him because he's odd. It's just
Misa,
annoying.
not so what you mean, sir. Yeah.
It's annoying.
Like, what is it? Intergalactic Jamaican something. I don't know.
Right.
Like, I forget what the
was-
inspiration was, but it was different.
Well,
Sell
even
more
worse
toys.
is even worse, and I don't know his name. The leader of that people, though, is even more annoying.
Oh,
I think, to me.
the Gungan.
The one that goes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, why would?
Misa think we be friends. That's
Right.
the one. Yeah.
That's the one.
I like. Yo, no, I thought he was great. I forget, there was someone who was quite well known who did the voice for that. I have to look that one up again.
I'm
It
not
wasn't
that
James Earl
interested.
Jones, I'll tell you that. He
Right. I'm not that interested. I really.
Oh, okay. Well, we're at time. So, who wants show a raise of classic hands? Who wants us to start? What do you mean?
Hello.
Jar Jar? Binks impersonations. I'm sorry, Jamie. Did I offend your sensibilities, Star Wars sensibilities?
Yeah, that's funny. Wait, Jamie in the chat room is saying, please, no more of the Jar Jar Binks. I kind of agree with you. So hello to the wonderful people that have joined us in chat. The number is growing. That's awesome. Wonderful.
It's because of the impressions. They heard them from wherever they were, and they're just like, no.
I'm pretty sure that's not why.
Exactly.
So, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 243 of the 365 Message Center Show. We today are talking. Yes, we talked a little bit about Star Wars in the green room, but so those that are on the audio podcast, if you'd like to hear a little bit of that, you can join. Check out the video where you can see and hear what we were talking about. And it's not. I'll go ahead and say it's not worth a whole lot of effort, but if you kind of want to hear some funny stuff, you can go on over there.
We do put the effort in to put chapters in there, so you can jump past all the preamble and you get to the welcome, where you can go straight
even this
to
stuff.
All the different messages. Yeah, you can skip over the discussion about discussions.
So let's go ahead. This is our weekly tasks that we have. Everyone right now, go ahead and you can pause or whatever you need to do. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button, hit the share button, whether it's the audio or video. Share this. Just put out the URL and say, I watched the show. Hey, everybody, go subscribe. It's not that difficult. And it helps. It's therapeutic. So if you go ahead and just share the episode out on Twitter, Instagram, you do it on LinkedIn, Facebook, tag us at 365MCS. We will see it, we will amplify it, and we'll become your friends.
Make it like bubble wrap. So every time you hit the like button, it's that satisfying kind of yeah. Oh, I like that.
I see. Okay, do that
right.
too. So this episode is actually a bit packed. We have a lot to talk about, including, team shared channels, which, that'll be fun. So let's maybe dive into it. Unless you had anything else, Darrell, you wanted to mention.
Nothing of value, just bad jokes.
Okay.
So let's move on.
We definitely want to move on.
Oh, yeah.
So first up, we're talking about an update to search. We're improving search usage reports with Microsoft Search, MC390405. And this is what I feel like a much needed update, because every time I'm talking with clients and we're working through how to refine their intranet, to work, improve their intranet, one thing I mention is search and refining that search experience so people can find it if it's not, easily in navigation or something. So how you do that is you go into Search and Intelligence in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and you tweak it a little bit and see what's going on. Well, what they're doing is they're going to add additional reports to this to help you understand how your users are searching. New ones will include the overall query volume, how many searches are happening, which will be, I think, interesting for organizations. How often are people using search, period? Daily active users, average results position, which is interesting. Click-through rate, what is it when someone does a search? Do they actually click on a link, or do they just abandon their search? Recent activity, queries by user action, etc. So these are begin rolling out mid-July, and will be completed by early August. Now, if you click through the information, the additional information, the blog post, you're not going to see too much detail on what is coming. However, one thing that was done, Bill Bear, if you're familiar with SharePoint for any amount of time in the past, he has been on the team for a while, but he tweeted out a picture, and Darrell is showing that on screen right now. It is, and we'll include this link in the show information so that you'll be able to get to it. But it's definitely a whole lot more information about what is going to be included in a better picture, a better image and view of the detail that you're going to be getting in these new search reports. Okay, so like I said, mid-July is when we'll start seeing that. Any thoughts on this, Darrell? Do you point people in this direction to help refine how their users are experiencing the internet?
I haven't spent a lot of time optimizing search, though I know it's important. That I love a analogy someone used to use often. That we all want our enterprise search to be like Google, to give us results, perfect results on the first page. But think about each person or each organization that owns that site that appeared in that list. It's all been optimized. They worked really hard to get that content there.
Right.
So we have to do the same in the enterprise, and tools like this help us.
Yeah, there's lots and lots of people whose job is to curate content and making sure those algorithms do their job. And so if you want even close to that experience, the data's got to be good, but it's also got to be refined in search. So I love seeing these improvements coming. And speaking of search improvements, why don't you feed us some information about Outlook Mobile?
Ho ho! Nice done. The Microsoft feed on Outlook mobile search page, MC389615. Microsoft search, well, rather, Outlook search today. The middle button on Outlook mobile, hit that. You can find your contacts. You can search for messages from there. Small tip for iOS users, which I wish more apps did this consistently. If you tap the magnifying glass twice, it goes to the page, and then it goes to the search box, and you can just carry on typing rather than having to move your finger up to the top of the screen. Anyway, that page is about to become even more useful, and this is all about bringing a feed together. I would call it an activity feed. Some journalists have called it a news feed, but it's an activity feed because it's going to show you more than just news. The search page is going to pull content across all the different people that you interact with. So a bit like what the Delve feed used to be. So activity around documents that you've worked on. There'll be interesting other things as well. Where are we? Down here. Things like people that are having work anniversaries. Actual news posts as well of sites that you do follow and are a part of, or organizational news sources. Upcoming meetings. Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm going to see that when I visit my calendar, but if you just so happen to be in the activity feed, Microsoft feed, at the beginning of the day, checking stuff out, you might see what your first meeting is. You've got Yammer posts as well. Okay, so it says you can react to social posts from Yammer. I don't know if it also means, well, you probably click through and see that post in full in the Yammer app. But yeah, all sorts of different things there that are going to come together and make it valuable. And it's all driven by the signals that show your activity, who you're connected to, what you're following, where you're working. So that is interesting to see coming into your Outlook mobile experience. And as I said, probably my use case would be I'm going to go there maybe at the beginning of the day or after I've checked my messages. Let's go and have a look at something there, see what's happening. But Daniel, we've seen something like this in other products as well. I think it's popping up in different places for where you might start your day. Some might start in Teams and see this sort of thing in the Viva Connections feed. Some people might start in Outlook Mobile and see it there. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it is nice to have multiple points of connecting people to what's going on, like you're saying. And frankly, there's a great deal of people, smart, intelligent people, who start their day in Outlook Mobile. I mean, really smart people, if you catch my drift. Me. I'm saying
Oh,
me.
no, I was pausing for you to answer that for yourself, because...
I start off my day in Outlook Mobile, and so having a place to connect to understand what's going on, things that I've missed and all that, it is really good idea to improve that. I think there's going to be, hopefully, people will see this and understand it's available, right? Other than just checking email and checking their calendar, right? So. I think that's going to be the key, is getting people to adopt this, know about it first of all, and then adopt it as a way of keeping up, a little bit. So.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, a lot of people who are starting their day are checking what has someone sent me on the various different platforms that I need to be aware of, use to organize my day, respond to quickly. They're going to come across this when they go to search. I don't think they'll deliberately go there to start their day.
And unless they find value in it and go, oh, that would have been nice to know this morning that that post had been put out by the organization, and I joined my first meeting and was expected to know that was there.
Yeah. Did you
Right?
see did you see the corporate news this morning?
Right. Did you see
There's
the
been a staffing
announcement
change, and
Right.
Good
Anyway,
point. Well,
Yeah.
that is
I make a lot
rolling
of
out
good points.
mid-June, nowish. You've got your modern is now. We need that nowish T-shirt as well.
Yes, nowish.
And expect to be complete rollout early August. And let's sort of stick around productivity and another common activity, meetings.
Yeah, this
Daniel?
was a big one. I think
Yeah.
it's a throwback, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. But join meetings by a meeting ID and passcode MC389614. Microsoft Teams meetings have been something of a bear to join if you weren't invited, and maybe you're out and about, or you are not available on a computer. Someone says, you're not checking your email, and someone calls you and says, are you going to join the meeting? And you're like, what meeting? I need you to join this Teams meeting. Okay, I don't have the invite. How do I get to it? Well, let me read the URL out to you. Yeah, no, right. So this is going to solve those particular things, what I just mentioned, those use cases, because in early July, so in a couple weeks-ish, and expected to roll out by the mid-July, we're going to be able to join meetings with having a meeting ID and a passcode for that meeting. This will enable, and you can do this in Teams, so you can go to your calendar and click join a meeting by meeting ID and passcode. They're going to provide on the public Microsoft website, they're going to have a landing page where you can enter in the meeting ID and the passcode, so you can join right there from that page, so that you can join. So 2 use cases I just mentioned. You are you didn't get the invite, you are out and about, you don't have the calendar entry or whatever, and someone calls you and says, hey, we need you to join this meeting. Here's the thing. Here's how you join. And then the second one that I was thinking about was rooms. You're in a room, in a meeting room with a display, whatever that display is, whether it's just hooked up to a computer or you have a hub or something, but it wasn't invited. You can simply join with those numbers. So I mentioned this as a throwback because this is something that we used to have back in the Office communication server days and further, right? And Skype and everything else. We used to have this, and there's other products that have this same capability. So now Teams is getting it as well. Darrell, do you think you will have chances when this will happen, where you'll need this information?
A lot of my meetings are, click the link and go.
Right.
Click the meeting invite join button and go.
Right, which is nice.
Yeah, I think it's going to come up with when you want to invite a whole lot of people, but you don't want to put their names in the invite or include distribution groups or anything like that. In fact, you might be, hitting limits for large audiences. So I could see it being quite useful for sharing to that unknown audience, but making sure that it's still secure, that here's the link, here's the passcode, rather than just, here's the meeting code and here's the password. Yeah.
One way that I ran into this previously, I mean, this is years ago when we were using Skype, maybe it was Skype, but maybe it was OCS, but where you're in a meeting and you're sitting there waiting and no one else is joining. You're in a room. And then someone joins the call and says, oh, this is what we thought. You're in the wrong room. Like the wrong meeting call. I need you to join this other call. Here's the meeting ID and the passcode. And so you're sitting there writing it down. You hang up and then you dial into the meeting where everyone else is. Things like that I think, I don't think this is going to be an everyday occurrence, although there may be situations where it might become that. But I think it's more of a one-offs in my mind of just trying to get people easily connected that are not invited. So anyway, I think it's time to move on. Don't you think maybe you should suggest us doing something?
Suggest moving on. I mean, I love how you put that in line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is quite a large title. Inline suggestions available while composing an email or meeting invitation in Outlook on the web. MC 390406, powered by Microsoft Viva Insights. As you're typing an email, setting up a meeting invite, you are going to see suggestions. The types of suggestions are going to be driven by AI this, AI that, machine learning. Sorry, just a slight pause and a rant. If everything is machine learning and AI these days, got to watch out when they become sentient, though, right? Or so they claim. So if Microsoft Viva becomes sentient and starts to make suggestions like put the rubbish out before you attend that meeting, get worried. In reality, here's some of the suggestions that might come. Delaying a email that you're sending outside of business hours. And I see that sometimes along the top, so that's a good one. Suggesting outstanding tasks that might have been part of the language in an email conversation with a colleague. So that's kind of useful. Planning your time away with a checklist. So Viva's going to say,
time away?
You have reached your 50,000th email this year. As an anniversary, we want to just remind you that you probably should take time off. I'm just going to look into your HR system. No, it's not going to go that far. I don't know when that would trigger. Shorten a meeting. If you haven't already got that setting on by default, it's going to suggest that. One that I came across when Workplace Analytics or My Analytics first came, before it was Viva, and I kind of underuse it, but every time I see it, I think, yeah, that'd be quite useful. Tracking email opening rates for emails that you send with 5 people or more. That's quite handy to see. It doesn't appear like the old read receipt that, I mean, who says, sure, I'll let you know when I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, those sort of insights are going to be quite useful. Inline suggestions, of course, there's an option to turn it off if you don't want them. But I would probably leave them on and just see what else Viva comes up with. And I mean, like inline suggestions are going to become part of writing messages. Look, we maybe should have like a side, even panel discussion about this, Daniel, because we've got autocompletes. We've got Context IQ coming that will suggest, oh, why don't you, I see you wrote this name here or you mentioned this document. You want to hyperlink that? We've got topics. We've got these inline suggestions. So where is the time for thinking and writing the email, sending the invite without distractions?
That was 5 years ago. So
kind of like when I started this message 5 years ago.
Yes. Kind of like,
we'll keep moving along, right?
So, but you, there's this, I don't know if it's TikTok or stories or reels or whatever, that some videos that I've seen where there's this whole, like, I want to business size my answer, and so there's an email and the person says, I'm not going to do that. And it's the business side, the how I business put it into business words. It says this is beyond the scope of work for blah blah. So I'm thinking maybe we'll get to a point where we'll get an email, and we'll hit reply, and we'll hit a button, and we'll say no, and then Outlook's just going to go, and it's going to put like 4 sentences together for us that basically
Love
in the
it.
end means no.
And maybe be able to suggest the tone that you want to say it in too,
Exactly.
so that it gives you like a few options to say, do you want
Or it
this
has
one
a rating
or this
scale.
one?
Yeah, like a, hot, it's like red, like say no in the firmest, way possible, all the way down to
Disinterested.
I would really love to, and it just pains me, but no. I can't make it.
I like that. We need to claim that.
That would be interesting. We should develop that today.
We'll call it Viva Blah. So it'll suggest blah, and it'll write messages for you.
Alrighty then.
All right. That's rolling out early July, expected to be completed early August, if it doesn't get updated before then. Moving on to new locations for something. I can't come up with
nice.
Anything. Yeah. Look, but
and this one doesn't even. This one
you got to say
even...
something about the title thing, because we talked about that yesterday.
This is my message. Don't tell me what to do.
Okay. I'll mute.
Let me read it first, and then I'm going to tell you what it means, because what the title says and what it means is 2 different things. So, new location for key functions and direct access to other Microsoft 365 apps and Outlook, MC390407. This is... Let me just tell you what this is. This is Microsoft saying, remember we used to have that new experience button where you could toggle, in Outlook to get the new stuff, the coming soon toggle? Well, now we're bringing all that stuff, and we're not going to hide it behind coming soon. That's it. End of story. That's what this message is about, basically.
No. Come on now.
This is, the one thing Darrell wanted me to mention is the title is the direct access. And this whole, way of, having the
capitalization.
Some words capitalized and some not. And the messages some messages are like this, where the major words, are all capitalized, while other messages, most of the words are not capitalized. It's kind of odd when we... how this works. And what'd you call this? Camel's Hunt. Okay. Camel.
And I think instantly I think of Jackie Chan and his you want some Camel's Hunt, when he was talking to, and forget the movie. But I glanced at that and I said, direct access. Why are they talking about direct access? It's a VPN thing. That's not a noun. They just literally mean accessing something directly. But
yeah,
we're really sidestepping here.
We are kind of sidestepping.
Yeah.
But, so let's talk. All right, this is rolling out mid-July.
What is this about, Daniel?
And be completed by late September. So this is changing how you're going to access calendar, email, task, and other functions, and is going to be in the top right. Remember that I was talking about the change, that coming soon toggle in the top right of Outlook for Windows. So that's the desktop app, that we're using. It's going to make that experience, if you had turned on that coming soon, that experience be the default experience for you in Outlook. And you're going to be able to get to, for those that haven't turned that on before, you will then obviously get that experience. So you're going to have access to To-Do, to Yammer communities, bookings, all of that within the Outlook canvas, and all those buttons will be on the left-hand side by default for you. So you will want to, it says you may want to, no, you will want to notify your organization of these updates, especially if most of users haven't been using that new experience, that coming soon experience in Outlook.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Well, moving on to sometimes this thing that I do when Daniel's busy and I end up having to talk to myself when I run the show. Right. Teams chat with self. Teams
Talk,
chat with self.
talk about derailing.
Yeah.
What is this rabbit hole you're going on?
Right, I'm going down.
All
Yeah,
right.
Teams chat with self. It's MC390416. Have you ever written a message in email and sent it to yourself? I think it's quite cute when it circles back and it says note to self. Very funny. But it's a common way that people can leave themselves a note or send something to themselves and just manage that all from their inbox. Well, I want to bring that to Teams. They want to allow you to start a chat with yourself and send a message to yourself and have a good old time reminding yourself in chat as your stream of consciousness. But I immediately thought of something else that came to Teams chat, and you need to have a partner to be able to start this experience, and it's adding a Microsoft loop. Today, you've got to do that with someone within your organization in a private chat or a group chat or something like that. But experience here is that I could start a conversation with myself, attach a loop, prepare it, set it up for a meeting or a collaborative group conversation, lay it all out, and then add people to my group chat. Pretty good idea? I think so. But yeah, it's a way of using loop on its own. Yeah, previously, some interesting workarounds. Previously, people would start a meeting with themselves to have a chat with themselves, or they would be in a group chat and then everyone else would leave, and then they could use it as a chat, and then there's your stream of consciousness. Interesting, the things that people do to chat with themselves. But there may be some use for this. Daniel, I like what you said though in our preparation yesterday. Something to consider across all business systems.
Well, this is if you send an email to yourself, those note to selves. If you start a Word document or OneNote and you're taking notes, that's all discoverable. And remember, if it's on your business systems, that means ultimately, if needed, that information can be read by others and can be seen by others. And so the same thing with this. If you start a chat with yourself, that's going to be discoverable and ultimately could be seen by, if needed, if required for certain things, it could be seen. So just remember that. I mean, it's not a big deal. I don't think if you're going to be using people that take notes electronically know that already, right? So it's not a big deal, but it's just something to keep in mind.
So this will be rolling out nowish and expected to be complete late June.
Indeed.
A couple of weeks' time. 2 more, Daniel. 2 more for you. I'll give these both.
Yeah. You could just leave.
Okay, fine.
So the first one is Microsoft Teams Connect Shared Channels General Availability, MC390413. And I'm not really going to spend a whole lot of time on this because back in episode, I guess it was 230, we talked about the preview of what shared channels and what it means, and talked about some of the technical limitations and all. So if you want to hear some of that and some of our thoughts on use cases, then go on and check out episode 230. This one thing that you need to keep in mind, there are some steps that have to be taken for you and another organizations to use shared channels. But if you want to use them internally, you'll be able to use them pretty quickly. It's going to be rolling out mid-July. We now have a date-ish. Mid-July, expected by mid-August. And then GCC Cloud will be rolling out early August to late August. So that's nice to highlight those. So there's some information in here calling out how to utilize it, and as well as some of the technical stuff in the bottom. So check that out. Again, we covered most of that in episode 230 and as well as other blog posts. Finally, our last message is about SharePoint and Teams. SharePoint. updates to channel site to display site permissions, MC390004. This is just highlighting some changes for channel sites and how you manage permissions. So first of all, when you go to permissions, it's going to basically call out that you need to manage the permissions for the channel in Teams. So go do that. Don't do it in SharePoint. Do that in Teams. It's going to highlight that. But then there's going to be a site sharing button right under that, talking about or giving you the opportunity to change how the site is shared. For those private channel sites, this is important because let's think about what private channels are. They are a subset of users out of a team, but do we want to manage, and I think the answer is yes here, who can share content out of that? Because the private channel was created to be a subset of that team. So when we're sharing, we need to make sure we're managing that sharing really well, because this was created as a space to work where not everyone was included. And that's just why it was created, why we use private channels. So you'll be able to manage those sharing permissions. The first being, site owners, members, and people with edit. So basically all of those members will be able to share files and folders, or you can set it to say only site owners. I personally think that's the way I'm going to suggest most organizations that I work with do it, especially out of the gate, unless they are on the maturity scale of using the technology. They've already kind of are advanced and can handle this, and people know not to share content to people that shouldn't be able to see it. All right. So there'll be several settings there allowed or available for you to use. And again, it says you may want to notify users. I think you should notify your users, especially your owners, your team's owners that have been creating those private channels and everything. You definitely want to notify them of the change on private channel and how those sharing permissions are handled.
Nicely done. Yeah. Nicely done. That takes us to the end of the show. We covered quite a bit. We had a rant. We talked about Star Wars. We went off the rails like we do. But we thank you all for joining us in the chat, and for those who are watching and listening afterwards. So we do value your interaction and your opinions and thoughts as you share it on social and engage with us on and after. We, even seeing comments on the videos and catching up with those later. It's great to see.
Love it.
Well, Daniel, have a great week. Have a great week, everyone who's tuned in. And we're trying to get the episode out a little early, even if it doesn't truly have everything we're covering for the week. So keep an eye out for it in maybe a day or two, and some initial thoughts about what we'll cover. And also let us know if there's something you'd like us to cover.
Yes, indeed.
We'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.